Hey, this is Alex from the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. To see more videos like this from the Good Old Boys, hit subscribe and support this independent podcast.
The way that we were drafting on this, it was a 14-round draft on this. Single QB, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, 1 kicker, 1 defense, special team. So a pretty standardized league for a starting roster, and then a few bench spots on top of that one there as well. So pretty standardized draft, right? We tried to make it as close as we could to what most folks are going to see and going to encounter in their in the draft room that night. And we based all of this stuff off of a half-point PPR scoring, right? And part of the reason we do half-point PPR scoring is, 1, we base all of our rankings off of a half-point PPR. And 2, it kind of lands right in the middle in between the standard scoring and full-point PPR scoring. And you can kind of adjust back and forth and really, see how some of that would shift and look and work based on your league there. But this will give you kind of the middle ground, and you can adjust as you need if you're a full PPR or a standard scoring league there.
107 for Alex in this draft. Tyreek fell to the 7th pick. Alex picked him right up. I think that's a great pick at 107. I don't like drafting in the middle part. I can do front, I can do back. The middle, it gets choppy seas. And so I thought this was a great start for something like that. Followed it up with Amon-Ra St. Brown, a name we haven't seen on any of these boards yet just because of where we'd been drafting. I like that pick at 206, right? So now you are set at wide receiver for the most part. Najee Harris, Aaron Jones to follow that up in 3rd and 4th. I like that. I think you might want it to be a little bit more dynamic in some ways, but Aaron Jones can provide that ability, right? Like, we've seen him fall into the end zone 14, 16 times in a season. So we're, a little bit of a different look for the offense, but I do think Aaron Jones is still going to be highly involved in Green Bay. And as your running back too, nothing wrong with that one. Jerry Jeudy in the 5th again, nothing wrong with that as a flex play or your 3rd wide receiver. Dalvin Cook in the 6th. I don't hate this necessarily, right? Like, seeing how this is going to go and who's going to be kind of the first one out between Cook and Breece Hall. So I don't mind this at 6th. I like that much better than paying a 3rd-round price for Breece Hall, right? So get the guy with the cheaper option if you want a piece of that. And Dalvin Cook is still, he's still in the back end of his prime, right? Like, he is not in his peak years, but he is still in his very, very productive years. So there's nothing wrong with that. Monty, a guy that we like as well. So way to round out that running back room. You are set through the first 7 rounds. Tua being your quarterback in the 8th. I like that. Nice little mini stack with Tyreek Hill. That's always a nice thing. Followed it right back up with Kirk Cousins. A little interesting, but health concerns possibly, right? Like, I'm not going to speak for Alex. I don't know exactly. So I'm going to maybe had health concerns and wanted to make sure that he was not going to be fighting that. And if Tua happens to get that, God forbid, but if Tua happens to get another concussion, having Kirk Cousins as your backup and a guy with top 12, not only potential, but kind of steadily, right? Like, he is steadily in that 11, 12, 13 range. So you get the best QB2 that there is out there probably. And then kind of rounding out, Dobbs went in the 12th in this round. I thought that was really good value for this one, especially with all 3 of us liking him. So good on Alex there. And then kicker defense.